In this video, I am going to share with you how we use automation to help our dance studio clients with saving time, reducing workload, increasing enrollment, and generating more revenue. And if you stick around until the end of the video, I will show you an overlooked secret that we use to build automations that actually fool people into thinking that they're talking with an actual person. And before I dive in, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Hervin Alvarez. We own a company called Get More Students. We are a marketing and automation agency that helps studio owners with saving time, reducing workload, increasing enrollment. If you're interested in growing your dance studio, subscribe to this channel because that's exactly what we talk about in here. Okay, so let's dive right in. So how do you use automation? How do we use automation? And first of all, how did I even discover automation for dance studios? So back when we had our dance studio, we started running advertising campaigns to try to attract more students. And we noticed that this is after a while of tweaking and trying a lot of things with the ads. The ads actually started working, and we started generating a ton of new inquiries of people who wanted to come and try our dance classes. Now, the problem is that we were getting a ton of new inquiries, but not a lot of them were actually showing up to the studio. So we would generate a ton of leads, but a lot of people weren't walking in through our doors. And so we were puzzled by that for a long time until we spoke to one of our business mentors who said, "Hey, do you want to know the secret to Facebook and Instagram advertising?" I was like, let me get my pencil out. Sure, what is it? And so she shared with us that we needed to follow up with all of the new inquiries that we were getting within 1 to 5 minutes of them inquiring. We needed to be on top of them. We needed to follow up with them quickly, ideally with either a text message or a phone call. And so that's actually what I started doing. Anytime I would get a new inquiry coming from the Facebook ads, I would pick up the phone, my personal phone, and I would dial this person. I would call them. A lot of times it would go to voicemail, but a lot of times I would connect with this person. And that actually started to work. Once I got people on the phone and I started talking to them, I was able to get them to book a time with me to actually show up to the studio. And it started to work. Now, the problem with this, as you can imagine, I mean, if you're trying to follow up with every single lead that you get within 1 minute of them inquiring, it gets tough. You know, I would be doing this in the middle of the day before going to sleep. I would get a lead and I would say, okay, I got to call this lead. Before going to the bathroom, I would go, like, if I would get a lead, I'm like, let me hold off and let me call this lead. And obviously this is not sustainable. You can't be following up with every single lead like that manually. This is at that point when our business coach, introduced us to automation. She ran a marketing agency for chiropractors, and she showed me how her chiropractors were using automation to get more of those patients to walk into their practice. And I started learning more and more about automation. I dove into how automation could work for a dance studio. Back then, there was no guide, no nothing, no video like this to explain how automation could work for a dance studio. And so I kind of started trying to figure it out on our own and trying to see what was working out there for other people. So we started looking at how chiropractors were using automation, how dentists were using automation, how gym owners were using automation, like all of these different industries, to see what the best practices were and how they were using it. And I started implementing those ideas into our dance studio and started tweaking them. Obviously, they didn't start to work at first because a dentist or a chiropractor or gyms, they run totally different businesses than a dance studio, but there's a lot of similarities. And so I started tweaking what they were doing to and adjusting it for a dance studio. And now, so when we implemented that for us, it made a huge shift. So all of the leads that were previously falling through the cracks were now coming into the studio. Our revenue started to increase because people weren't falling through the cracks. In fact, in I can't remember exactly, it's like 3 to 5 months, somewhere around that range, we added an extra $10,000 in recurring revenue to our dance studio because of the automation. So I'm excited to share this with you. how we're using it right now for the clients, let's dive right in. So I'm going to share here my screen. And so I hope you can see this. Okay, so how we're using automation for our clients. So number one, to talk to new leads. Like I said, new leads, when they come in, there's statistics on this. If you want to Google like Harvard study, how fast should you follow up with new leads or something like that, there's like a Harvard study done. The faster you follow up, the better your chances are at connecting with the new leads that you're generating. And ideally, you want to follow up with every new lead that you get within 1 minute. So we automate the first text message. So we do automation with texting, with SMS, and we have found that to work really well. A lot of people, like I said, when we were calling people, sometimes they would go to voicemails. With texting, it's almost like everybody's on their phone. Everybody checks their text messages. It's something that we have found to work really well right now. And so we text everybody within 1 minute of them inquiring, and we just simply ask, what is the name and what is the age of your dancer? That's all we ask, right? And so if you're doing tumbling, gymnastics, karate, what is the name and the age of your kid, whatever you want to ask, just a simple question like, hey, thank you so much for inquiring about our dance classes. What is the name and the age of your kid so that I know how to help you, right? So you immediately send that out, start the conversation with the parent. And we have found that once you start the conversation, once you get their attention, then it's much easier to keep the conversation going. So one of the ways that we use it is to start the conversation with the new leads, right? And we don't want to fully automate this process. We don't ever want to lose like the personal touch. So if the parent replies back, it's not like a robot is replying back to them. We want to follow up with them ourselves. But at least the first text message, you totally should automate it, right? Because that is impossible to reach out to everybody all the time, to all the new leads, right? So, okay. The second thing is reminders. We use automations to remind people to show up to the dance studio, whether it's free trial classes or whether it's a paid trial or no trial at all. When somebody has their first class, they want to come in, check out our studio. What we used to do in our studio, for example, is that if somebody wanted to come in and check out our dance studio, we would book them into like an appointment. It's not really an appointment. It was just like a time like 10 minutes before the class started so that we could tell them about how everything worked on our end. So we called it a consultation, a dance consultation or something like that. Or a pre-class consultation. You could also book them for a free trial class. The point is that one day before the trial class, the morning before the trial or the consultation, the morning of the consultation, the 1 hour before the trial class, you want to send these students, these parents, reminders so that they actually remember to show up to your studio. You don't want to leave it up to them to sort of remember, because remember, a lot of people are people right now are busy, they're forgetful, they have a lot of things going on. So you want to send these reminders to get them to show up. And I noticed this the other day, like I went to the dentist not too long ago. I actually went to two different places, two different practices, because I wanted to get two different opinions. And one of them, when I called, I booked an appointment. They just say, hey, show up on, next Tuesday. And that was it. They didn't send me anything. They didn't send me reminders. They didn't confirm with me the appointment. They didn't do anything. And so Tuesday came around and I sort of showed up on my own, hoping that my appointment was still there, that they hadn't canceled on me, that it was still on. And so that was a little bit like that. It was fine, but it wasn't a great experience. On the other hand, the other dentist that I went to, they sent me 2 days before, they sent me a reminder. The day before, the morning of, they were like, hey, good morning. We're so excited. We can't wait to see you here at the practice. Please fill out this new patient intake form before you get here. It'll help you speed up your check-in process. And then 1 hour before, they were like, hey, here's the address. Here's what the building looks like. That was awesome. So that made me feel like, this people are on top of it. This business really cares about their customer experience. They really care about their customers. I could tell they had it together. Those are the people that I ended up going with. And so really important for you to send these reminders. It makes people think that like you have it together. Okay. Now, we also use automation to help prevent people from falling through the cracks. Now, what does that mean? So, whenever you have people inquiring about your dance classes, right? Let's say they emailed you, they called you, they messaged you, they filled out a form on your website, they saw your ad, they clicked on your ad, gave you their information. A lot of times when you follow up with them, when we use the automation, we send them a text message immediately. A lot of times parents don't even reply back, or they might reply back, but then they stop replying back at some point. They start to ghost you, right? And so if that's like, let me know down in the comments if this has ever happened to you, where you've had a parent, they reach out and all of a sudden now they're not answering your messages, you can't get a hold of them. And so a lot of times when this happens, I've spoken to studio owners where they're like, yeah, usually if they don't reply back to me after the first text, or maybe even I do another one, or maybe after the second text, if they don't, or second email or second follow-up, second call, if they don't reply, then I sort of give up and I assume that they have sort of moved on or something like that. This is actually a mistake. We have found with our clients that you can follow up with somebody. We follow up with all of the new inquiries that come in for our clients for 5 days. So every day we send a text message once a day, every day for 5 days. We send a text message that says, hey, I noticed that you were interested in our dance classes, but I didn't hear from you yesterday. Want to try out a class? Or, hey, are you still interested in dancing? Hey, is something preventing you from starting right now? Hey, are you still interested? And sometimes, like, that's all. Like, sometimes people, after the 5th time that we send them messages, that's when they start to engage again. That's when they start to respond. So who knows why that happens? People get busy. People forget. They, for whatever reason that ends up happening. And so we want to make sure that we're following up. You're not giving up. This is where automation is so powerful, because if you were to either do this yourself, I mean, this is a full-time job, just following up with all of the new leads. If that's all you were doing, you wouldn't be able to get anything else done, because it's, again, especially if you're generating a lot of inquiries every single month, you're just going to be overwhelmed trying to follow up with this. The same thing if you hired somebody that just is in charge of doing this, you're going to have to pay them a lot of money to be on top of all the leads at all times, because also these things are kind of unpredictable. You can't really predict when the new leads are going to come in. And so it's hard to have somebody there on call all the time at all points. It's expensive, which is why the automation is so powerful, right? This is why we use the automation for our clients. Okay, so let me see right here. So preventing people from falling through the cracks. We follow up with them once a day, every day for 5 days, and we have noticed that reduces the chances of the person actually falling through the cracks. So another way we use automation for our clients. Another way we use automation for our clients is for appointment cancellation. So let's say somebody decided that they wanted to come in on Tuesday, but Tuesday came up, rolled around, and then they're like, hey, I need to cancel. For a lot of studio owners, that's the end of that. That's the end of the journey. And so that's where a lot of other studio owners sort of like drop the ball and the person falls through the cracks. And so you want to make sure that you're using the automation so that if somebody needs to cancel, the automation is there again to send them. With every cancellation, we send them again 5 more messages, 5 once a day, every day for 5 days, to try and get them to reschedule, to try and get them to come in again, to reschedule a trial class, or to actually get them to show up again if we're not doing trials. Okay, so we also use it for no-shows. So if somebody was supposed to come in for a trial class and didn't show up, again, that person, an emergency might have happened. Something might have happened where they totally missed it. So we want to use the automation to follow up with all those people who no-showed, to try and get them to rebook to reschedule another trial. Okay, so another way to use the automation is to follow up with the students who didn't enroll on the day of. This will help you make more sales. So anytime you get a student who came into the studio, they loved the class, they had fun, they loved it, but they didn't end up signing up. You want to make sure that you follow up with those leads, right? And this is where the automation comes in. Our automation follows up with it, with the leads that didn't end up enrolling, and follows up with them the next day. And it just asks a simple question. Hey, did you enjoy class? Hey, how was your experience? We want to make sure that we stay in touch. You don't need to be overly salesy. You don't need to be, hey, did you want to sign up? Did you want to take advantage of this now? Hey, sign up before all of our enrollment spots are gone and you end up regretting it later. You don't want to be like that aggressive. You want to make sure that, just ask them a question, and maybe that's all it takes to get the conversation started back up and get them to think about moving forward with you. The last thing we use automation for, not the last thing, but one of another thing that we use it for is onboarding campaigns. We've found that once a student enrolls, right, and they are now a student, they've paid, we want to start sending them communication messages. We don't want the communication to all of a sudden stop and that's it. We're no longer talking to them. Like, all right, we got your money, you're out. Like, next. We don't want to be like that. So we want to stay following up with those new students. We want to keep the conversation going. So we're going to be creating an automation sequence that follows up with all the new students, sending them communications about why your studio is so great, what they should look out for, asking them to refer their friends, asking them to leave you a Google review. We want to just educate them about why your studio is amazing, the values of your studio, why you're different. So that way you start to sort of educate them as to why your studio is better, so that they don't end up leaving and doing something else, finding another activity, leaving for another studio, and so on. So we want to make sure that we keep that communication up. Okay. And so there you go. These are a lot of different ways that we use automation for our clients to help them generate more revenue, increase enrollment, save time, reduce workload. If you don't have automation, highly recommended. Now, I'm going to share with you, as a bonus for watching until the very end, I'm going to share with you a simple secret that we use to create automations that actually fool people into thinking that they're talking to a real person, because that's one of the biggest concerns people have whenever they think about using automation. Whenever people, studio owners that I speak to, I talk to them about automation, they think like, oh no, but I don't want to lose the personal touch. I don't want people to believe that they're talking to a robot. I don't want it to make it sound like, they're speaking, that we don't care about them, or they're just another number or something like that. Like the reason why our studio is successful is because we treat everybody like people and we really care about them. And so one of the ways that we have found one of the ways that we use automation to fool people into thinking they're actually speaking to a real person is that we finish all of our automation messages with a question. Let that sink in for a second. So that's super powerful, right? Because if you're sending a message like, hey, I noticed that you were interested in our dance class, but I didn't see you book a trial class yesterday. Are you still interested? Right? People are more, because it ends with a question, it feels personal. It feels like somebody's actually writing to you to check up on you. A message saying, hey, checking back in. Are you still interested in coming in and trying a class? Right? So you're sending these questions, which makes people think that they're talking to a real person. It's not like, you inquired about these classes. Reply with yes if you're still interested. That's terrible. You don't want to use automations that sound like that, like very automated and very salesy, because that's when people know they're speaking to a robot. That's when they won't stop. Like, that's when they won't give you any of their attention and the automations won't work. So when you finish with a question, this is what we always do. We found that to work really well. It fools people into thinking they're speaking to a real person, and it gets them to engage and not fall through the cracks. And so there you go. That's how we use automation for our clients. By the way, if you've enjoyed this content, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button. If you are interested in working with us and seeing how we can help your dance studio grow, save time, reduce workload, increase enrollment, generate more revenue, you can go to our website called getmorestudents.com. And you can check out our website over here. You can schedule a call if you're interested in working with us, or at least hearing more about our programs. You can check out some of the success stories from the studio owners that we're working with. We're working right now with over 100. We're close to 190 clients. And so right now this is exactly what we do. We help dance studio owners. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope you've enjoyed the content. Share with any of your dance studio owner friends that you think might find this helpful. And yeah, until next time, see you in the next video. Bye.